This is the story Britain never wanted the world to know. The British Empire tested poison gas on Indian soldiers and lied about it for nearly a century. In the 1930s, the evil British Empire stood at its height. India was its jewel, millions of soldiers, endless loyalty, unquestioned obedience. But under that glittering surface, the British were preparing for something darker. The Great War had left Britain terrified of poison gas, mustard gas, silent, invisible, unstoppable. It clung to uniforms soaked through skin and left men coughing blood until they drowned in their own lungs. By the mid-1930s, intelligence reports warned that Germany and Japan were rebuilding their chemical stockpiles. So the empire decided it must learn how to fight gas with gas. Its secret weapon was not a new bomb, but a new experiment. In 1933, British scientists from Porton Down, the empire's chemical warfare laboratory, arrived in Rawalpindi, India, a garrison town in what is now Pakistan. The official story said they were training troops in defense against gas attacks. The truth, they were building a test site. Brick chambers were erected on the edge of the cantonment. Pipes ran through the walls. Steel cylinders marked H-agent mustard gas were stacked under canvas. Outside, Indian soldiers drilled in the sun, unaware that the real war would begin inside those walls. Orders went out across Punjab and Bengal. Units were told to provide fit men for protective training. The soldiers obeyed. They were told it was routine. No one explained that the protective gear existed only for the officers. When their turn came, they were stripped to cotton shorts and sandals. A few were handed handkerchiefs to tie around their mouths. Nothing more. The British officers behind glass wore heavy rubber suits, gloves, and respirators. Then the valves opened. A faint hiss filled the air, followed by a yellow haze that drifted across the room. At first, it smelled faintly of garlic. Then the burning began. Mustard gas attacks the body wherever it touches. It eats into the skin, the eyes, the lungs. Within minutes, the soldiers' eyes streamed with tears so thick they couldn't see. Their throats closed. Their skin blistered in patches that spread and merged like liquid fire. Some screamed, some clawed at their faces. One man tried to tear off his shorts as the gas soaked the fabric and burned into his legs. The scientists outside noted the time of exposure: 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. When the chamber door finally opened, the soldiers stumbled out, coughing, vomiting, some collapsing on the floor. Medics in masks hosed them down with water mixed with bleaching powder. It was supposed to neutralize the gas, but for many, it only deepened the burns. The smell clung to their skin, sulfur and rot. They were told not to touch their eyes. They were told not to speak. Every reaction was written down. How long before the first blister formed? How large it grew after 10 minutes? How many hours before fever set in? Some soldiers were made to return the next day for repeat exposure to study healing times. A few were forced to march in the sun while still bandaged so scientists could see how sweat affected the wounds. The records described everything with cold precision. Subject 27. Blisters confluent on chest and back. Subject 39. Incapacitated, heavy coughing. Subject 52. Skin peeling on legs, prognosis fair. But nowhere in the reports appeared a single name. Only numbers. Only data. As the project expanded, the scientists moved testing outdoors. Large canvas screens were erected on the parade ground. Gas shells were detonated in shallow pits. The Indian soldiers were ordered to walk through the drifting clouds, wearing only shorts and identification tags pinned to their belts. Temperatures reached 40 degrees Celsius. Sweat opened every pore, letting the gas in faster. The soldiers' boots stuck to the earth where droplets of mustard agent had fallen. When the tests ended, the men were sent to decontamination tents. Water ran yellow with residue. The burns continued to worsen for days. Some developed bronchitis that never healed. A few died quietly in military hospitals, their deaths recorded simply as heat illness. At Porton Down, the Rawalpindi results were celebrated as progress. Graphs showed exactly how long dark skin could withstand exposure compared to pale. Reports concluded that tropical troops might tolerate marginally higher concentrations due to thicker epidermis, a statement with no proof, built entirely on suffering. The British called it data. The soldiers called it poison. The researchers tested ointments and dressings. Some were coated in zinc paste, others in cod liver oil. They recorded which treatment reduced swelling faster, which left less scarring. Every scar was evidence, every scar a statistic. When a man recovered enough to stand, he was ordered back to duty. No one spoke of what happened inside the gas chambers. They had signed no paper, received no explanation, no medal. If anyone asked, the officers said, they volunteered. In truth, the soldiers were threatened with loss of pay or confinement if they refused. In an empire built on obedience, refusal was unthinkable. But the tests continued, year after year, batch after batch. By 1944, more than 350 men had been exposed. Each experiment produced pages of measurements and photographs. The results were packed in sealed envelopes and shipped back to Britain. When the war ended, those files vanished into the archives of the Ministry of Defense. For 60 years, they remained classified. One survivor told a journalist decades later that every time it rained, the old scars burned again. In 2006, a historian searching through declassified files at Porton Down found a folder marked Indian Troops CW Trials. Inside were reports from Rawalpindi, tables, sketches of burn patterns, and photographs labeled only by number. Every image showed the same thing. Soldiers' backs, arms, and legs covered in blisters the size of coins. The discovery made brief headlines. The British government admitted the experiments had taken place, but said there was no evidence of lasting harm. By then, almost all the victims were dead. Similar trials were conducted in Madras, in Burma, even in Africa. Britain's scientists wanted to test every climate. Everywhere the empire flew its flag, the same pattern repeated: local troops, secrecy, silence. When independence came to India in 1947, the new government inherited nothing of those records. The British carried them home, locked them away, and left behind only damaged bodies. For decades, no one spoke of Rawalpindi. Families believed the scars came from accidents or disease. The soldiers who survived were too ashamed to explain what had been done to them. When the truth emerged, it shattered the myth of moral empire. The same Britain that condemned others for wartime atrocities had run its own program of human testing. Not on enemies, but on its own soldiers. 350 men, each with a number instead of a name. These details never reached London. They stayed in Rawalpindi, in the memories of men who could never forget. Yet no memorial stands in their honor. No document lists their names. Their story lives only in scattered files and a few blurred photographs, their faces hidden behind censor bars. The evil British Empire called them volunteers. History knows better. They were human test subjects, soldiers who trusted, obeyed, and suffered. Their sacrifice was erased by paperwork and pride, and though decades have passed, the ground where they walked still remembers. Beneath the soil of Rawalpindi lie traces of the gas that burned them. Faint, chemical, eternal. This was the day when evil British Empire burned its own men.